I'm Ken Secor, the Director for Albany County Veteran Services. Welcome to our monthly Honor of Veteran ceremony. For the month of June, we have the pleasure of honoring Charles E. Boone, who served in the U.S. Army Air Force.
He was not hesitant to use whatever gifts he has to serve one another faithfully.
To look at the legacy he left and about serving your country. And he went and served at a young age, 22 I believe he was when he enlisted into the Air Force. 1942 to 1945, 3 years, engineer, with the bomber unit. Comes home, and again, it was the greatest generation. He could have lived an ordinary life. Already served his country. When you put that uniform on and you raise your hand, no one forces you to do that. But you don't do it for the pay, because it's obviously not for the money. It's not for the medals. You do it because you want to serve your country. And you come home, and I don't want to say he could have lived an ordinary life, but he could have came home and just been quiet and just went on with his life. Instead, he has 10 children. Look at all the legacy here. But most importantly, he went to Syracuse University, graduated forestry school, and then started off and then worked his way up to the top position. Then retires, and this is what I love about this generation. They retire, but they don't retire. Then he goes on to another job. And most importantly, what he gave back to the community up in Westerville, joining the volunteer fire department. Again, putting your life on the line.
We are inspired by his courage and devotion to service, bravely fighting in the U.S. Army Air Force during World War II. His tenure garnered him a meritorious service medal, a testament to his patriotism and commitment to preserving our many freedoms. Like so many of our veterans, Staff Sergeant Boone continued to be of service to his community long after his time in the military.
It is, that legacy of service is just extraordinary. That's the one running theme that I must say we see virtually every month. And that is that not just those who have served, be it in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, it is that they came home and remained involved. In your dad's case, DEC, the public service, the service to the community. It's just extraordinary, the legacy, and it's very clear the impression that legacy of service had in passing on to his sons and daughters, as well as his grandson, and how wonderfully aptly named you are.
I feel as though our community will continue to know him through the legacy of the service that is being provided to our country by his family members, of the example that all of you set in our community, and as you know, in our state, in Syracuse, that is the legacy. And we can be very proud of the fact that we were able to call him one of ours, and that he is someone who will continue to be remembered.
You will leave here feeling good about who your organization is, who you represent in this community, in the world of politics. If you're wearing a uniform, and if you wore a uniform, you're going to feel proud of Charlie Boone and Betty Boone.
First of all, this is really absolutely astounding. I thank you all for being here, whether you knew Dad or not. Thank you very much for this honor and all the nice things that everyone said. So even though I spent trying times typing this up, I am going to skip a lot of the stuff that you've already heard. For instance, Dad's military service, you've all heard it, it's written down, etc. But I would like to introduce you to his family, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. Dad was born into a family that came to America in the 1600s via a land grant in Maryland. His father was John Francis Boone. His mother was Martha Slack Boone. John Francis was known as J. Frank. He was the youngest of 5 siblings, and he took advantage of the Homestead Act out in the Midwest at the turn of the century, was not successful, and he ended up in Washington State selling insurance in the early 1900s.
7 kids came to Oneonta. 3 were born, 5 graduated, and 2 got married. That's in this time frame of 68, 57 to 68. That's a lot of stuff going on. You know? There was always a baby, always a nip and nap, always a nip and nap on the kitchen table, always with Ma's coffee clutch, right? There was always a crib in their room, always. And Baby Joe's closet was in the kitchen cabinet. That's where Joe got dressed.
What a guy.
Yeah.
A few of the things that haven't been said, we lived in two homes there. One was the old house on Van Dyke Road, and then some years later, they built a Weber home, a nice new house right down the road. Some of the things in the old house, we had a big family, a lot of kids, one bathroom. And that bathroom had a little knocker on it. And every so often, Terry! And the bathroom was built so there was an extension beyond the bathroom, and the one window in the bathroom opened up into a family room, which was where a couch was. So you could only imagine how that was when you had to open the window and there was a person right there. Hi, John. So that was an interesting. No fans, of course. No circulation. No nothing there.
My ally became my rescuer one morning when I had a near head-on collision on the letter S on my way to work. This was way before cell phones. And when the sheriff asked me who he could call to come and get me, the first person I thought of was Charlie Boone. I knew I needed his calming presence to take control of the situation and to make me feel safe.
Getting to my mother and him, depending on the weather, I never saw my mother put on her own coat. He always had it in his hand. She never held an umbrella. Her hand never grabbed a door handle of the car, of the building. He was always there. And that just showed me how much he respected her. I mean, it just, at this point, I'm jumping ahead. I built my house and I finished off the cellar first, and I lived in there. But every night, I saw my dad and my mom for 45 years, every day except for the time I went to college. And I don't think I ever shook his hand more than twice. Maybe when they got married. I didn't even go to my own graduation. I went home to work on the farm. I guess, and when he got ill, we have a 30-acre meadow right across from the farmhouse, and he would try to, when we were working that piece, he would try to get on the tractor, and he couldn't. He'd go around me maybe twice, and he'd come in and say, "Jerry, I can't do it. I can't." You know, I said, "Don't worry about it. You know, I'll get it. I'll get it." And it would just bother. I'd go like 2 more rounds, and I'd run back and see how he's doing. You know, and it just, as it got worse, I had to take him every other day to get treatment. And he was so apologetic. I'm so sorry. Dad, the time was like this, that I had to help him. And as he helped me when I got kicked, I held him when he took his last breath.